Yo, it's Bader. Good morning, guys. I just want to go over a quick story here. I was going through my cards and cleaning up some space as I'm starting to do this YouTube journey, and I ended up moving through a box of 88 Fleer that I was trying to make some room, and it made me think back to last year and these cards, the 88 Fleer. And I wanted to tell the story on these because there's like 3 or 4 different stories that all tie together with these cards. There's childhood stories. There's stuff from my adulthood, and then in terms of fatherhood just recently. So I'm going to go over those. So first off, I picked up all these cards on a trip that we made to Spokane with my youngest son last year, and I went to a cool card shop. Loved the place over there. Can't remember the name of it, but we bought 2 boxes of 88 Fleer, and I think they were like $15 a box. And we just spent the evening going through them and talking about different players. So here's a couple of the highlights. Edgar Martinez, who's one I'm going to talk about. I met him, and that's one of the stories that I had. Kirby Puckett, this is a story about these in my childhood. And then other little, I don't know, mini nostalgic highlights. But first, let's just talk about this set a little bit from a nostalgic standpoint. When I was a kid, I grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska, and that's when my card collecting journey started. And the Fleer was actually the cards you really wanted in 1988. So, for example, I have this 91 baseball card magazine, and we'll just do an example. Here it is like, this is 91. This is saying the value of players, and you could track them. But if we went to somebody who had like a rookie in 88, let's go like Ron Gant. So here's a Ron Gant rookie. He was in the 91 World Series. I remember Puckett had that famous catch that was off of him. And if you go down and we look at his rookie card, it shows that the Don Russ was worth $1.50. The score was worth $1.50. His tops traded was $1.50, but his Fleer was $2.25. If we look at the Greg Jeffries rookie, and boy, that was a big card as a kid. At this time, you could get his Don Russ for $3, score for $2.25, but this guy would set you back $5.25. So Fleer was the premium, way over tops or Don Russ at the time because of how accessible they were. So anyway, the Fleers were more valuable, and I had a very good Kirby Puckett collection. And these 2 stinking cards right here would have been gold to me as a kid. I looked for those things for 3 years up there. I went to different card shows, and at the comic shop was the card shop that was up there when I was a kid. Could never ever find them, and finally, I think in like 1993 or 92, I finally picked one up, and I had to pay like $1.25 to get it. So that was an elusive card for me, even though it was not. I knew it was common. I just could never find one. So fast forward a little bit, that card being a big deal to me. Fast forward a bit, I'm in my early 20s. And in my early 20s, I go to a bank. This was the first bank that I was ever a part of. And there was 3 tellers, and I remember all of them. And one of the ladies' name was Patty. And Patty was awesome. I don't know how long it took, a year or two. One day we started talking about baseball, and she goes, "Oh, I love baseball. I love Edgar Martinez. He's my favorite." And so every time I'd go in there and talk to her, we'd talk a little bit about baseball. And in spring, she's like, "I'm going down to Peoria, and I'm going to watch the Mariners." And she talked about Edgar, and I remember one time her saying, "Oh, I know where he lives." And when I drive by his house, I just yell out the window of my car, "I love you, Edgar." And it was just really funny. So I remember one day I came by, and I just gave her one of these. And she thought it was the greatest thing, and she took this card and she put it up on the side. So when you're there talking and everything, and you look to the side, you can see like little calendars or pictures of family, just a little bit of stuff there. But forever after I gave her that card, one of these Edgar Martinez rookies were on there, which I thought was really cool. Well, fast forward a couple years, and I am working at a high-end fitness store, and I'm doing a stock transfer between one store and another one. And I go in, I'm in Bellevue, which is a high-end area of Washington. And I'm doing some paperwork, and this guy comes in, and I look up, and I'm looking at him, I go, "Man, that guy looks like Edgar Martinez." Now, one of our sales guys comes up to him and starts talking to him saying, hey, can I help you? And Edgar at the time used to do these commercials on for Ace Hardware, and one of the commercials was really funny. And he said he's making a wood project, and they get done and they go, "What is it?" And he goes something like, "He's a light bat," and it was a lamp that's made out of a baseball bat. Anyways, when he responds to our salesperson, he goes, "I'm looking for elliptical for my wife," and I'm like, "Holy crap, that's Edgar Martinez. That is definitely Edgar Martinez." But I didn't want to be, intrusive or whatever, play it cool. So I just kept doing my thing. But I did pick up a business card just in case I had an opportunity to ask him to sign it. So I go into the back room. I'm doing the stock transfer. Now it happens to be that the sales guy that we had was really outgoing, and he actually was he was friendly acquaintances with Jay Buhner at the time, and his son actually was in class with Jay's son. So when when he was talking to Edgar, he brought this up. He goes, "Oh yeah, I know Jay and his son," and he named his son. He goes, "Yeah, he goes to school with mine. Like, I see him at the school from time to time," and it really loosened up Edgar, and so they kind of bonded quickly. And when I was in the back room, the sales guy, this was really great of him, he saw me and he goes, "Hey, Edgar, do you mind? Hey, this is Anthony. I know he's a huge baseball fan." And Edgar looked over at me and he's like, "Hey, hello, Anthony." He's like, "Yeah, so you're a big Mariners fan?" And I kind of looked at him. I just kind of smiled. I go, "Edgar, man, I am so sorry. I'm not a Mariners fan. I'm actually a big Twins fan. I'm a huge Puckett fan." And he looked at me and he had this big smile on his face and he goes, "Oh yeah, me too." And he's, which I just thought was the coolest thing. And then I went to him, I go, "Hey, Edgar, would you mind? I've got a person that's at my bank, and whenever we go there, she's a huge Mariners fan, and she always talks about you." And he goes, "Oh, absolutely." And so I give him this business card, and on the back of it, he writes, "To Patty, best wishes, Edgar Martinez." And he gave that to me, and I was like, "This is awesome." So I was super pumped for like the next week. Can't wait to go to the bank again and deposit checks or whatever I had to do. And so when I go in there, I was disappointed because Patty wasn't there. And the teller there was actually one I didn't recognize, but I said, "Hey, is Patty here by chance?" And she kind of looked at me weird. She's like, "Yeah, but she's on her lunch break." I go, "Would you mind grabbing her?" Because she's just in the back room. And she's like, "Okay." So she goes back there. Patty comes up and says, "Anthony, is everything okay? Is anything wrong?" I go, "No, nothing's wrong. But guess who I ran into?" She's like, "Who?" I go, "I ran into Edgar." And she looks at me, she goes, "You did not." And I go, "I did. And guess what I got you?" She goes, "You did not." And I gave her the card, and she just kind of flipped out. Everybody and all the tellers and the people there just kind of looking at her and me, and they're like, "What's going on?" But she was just so pumped. And it's the greatest memory I have of like baseball related, like doing something for somebody else and just being super excited about it. So that's it. And every time I look at this card, I think of Patty and that experience. Every time I look at this card, I think about the mission of trying to track down this elusive son of a gun. And yeah, big fan of that. Too bad, man. Like Fleer is just not it's just not a thing anymore. But nobody cares. It's too bad. You guys remember these? Do you guys have fond memories of remember when Will Clark in 1987 was like $20? Just fond memories. Well, hope you liked this story. It's super fond memory of mine. All right, you guys have a good one. Actually, you know what'd be great is if you have a good story like that, if you remember some certain things where it just really jumps out where cards, when you look at the card, you think of an actual experience, let me know. Do a response video. All right, Bader out.